What's going on? This is Big G from RYDIN and welcome to another episode of Testing Rides. Today, I'm going to be testing out the 2019 Dodge Charger RT Super Track Pack. Welcome to the 2019 Dodge Charger RT. This body style was introduced for the 2015 model year, and here in 2019, this is still a very popular car among everybody because it's one of the only sedans that looks pretty aggressive like this, and also that's rear-wheel drive. It comes with multiple V8 options. So, I'm not going to talk because there's really nothing new with the 2019 model year, but let's start talking about kind of the spec of this car. So this is a 2019 Dodge Charger RT, and this one comes with a 5.7 liter heavy V8, making 370 horsepower, 395 foot-pounds of torque. Because this is a big American sedan, this weighs about 4,200 pounds, which is kind of a lot for a big vehicle like this, but it's a big muscle car. But because of that heavy weight and the V8, it doesn't get too bad. I feel economy. It gets about 16, 17 in the city and 25 out on the highway due to having cylinder deactivation, which is pretty cool. This car has the Super Track Pack on it. So basically, the Super Track Pack is like an appearance slash a little bit of a performance option for the Chargers. So you get the SRT front and rear bumpers. You also get the track apps, which we'll look at inside. If you watch my Dodge Charger GT review, you'll see it has the same type of menu where it has like launch control and gauges and things like that, which is pretty cool. Honestly, I think that the RT Super Track Pack with this little body kit on it is the best way to buy the Charger. I think all the other Chargers look a little bit more plain and basic, and this one is pretty mean, especially in this black. Look super mean. At this point on, I was going to give you guys some false information, but through further research, I realized that the Super Track Pack is now standard on GT Chargers and above. So the GT is the V6 with the more aggressive front and rear fascias, and the Super Track Pack apps, which gives you some additional gauges in the infotainment screen and also gives you a launch control and some other things. So the RT sits above the GT Charger. So the RT is the 5.7 liter V8. Yeah, you guys already know. I talked about that already. But since the Super Track Pack is no longer an additional option, it makes the 2019 Charger with this look cheaper for the 2019 model year. Instead of this vehicle being $38,000, almost $40,000 with the Super Track Pack, this one is now $36,000 with the Super Track Pack and the upgraded dark gray wheels, which look pretty awesome with the SRT front and rear fascias. And you also get the Super Track Pack apps and launch control and all that cool stuff like you do on the GT and how you did if you optioned the Super Track Pack from before. So for the 2019 model year, the Super Track Pack is standard. You do not have to option it. If you go to buy a Charger RT, you will get the Super Track Pack, which is pretty cool. And what this typically means when manufacturers do this thing in a random year, that means you're going to be seeing a new Charger sometimes very soon. So I'm very excited about that, but I do think this one looked pretty aggressive. So before we go out and drive this car, let's talk a little bit about the Charger, the 300, and the Challenger. So with recent automotive trends, sedans have been dying a slow death for all brands. I mean, like Ford announced last year that they're going to stop making sedans. GM just cut a lot of sedans out of the lineup, and I also heard that the Toyota Camry has slowed down in production for the 2019 model year. But weird enough, the Challenger, the 300, and the Charger here they're not at risk of being cut just because they're selling very well. I just read somewhere last year for the 2018 model year, the Charger sold more units than it originally did back in 2009 when it first kind of got released. Also, same with 300. So, what's different about a Challenger? What's different about a Challenger, Charger, and a 300 that, can kind of keep it around for a long time? It's the simple fact that this is one of the only sedans in this type of car class or price point that you can get in V8 and rear-wheel drive. So most of the other sedans like this, they have kind of went to V6s or turbocharged 4-cylinders, something like that. Chrysler and Dodge have stuck to the V8, V6 rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive platforms. Because they have done that, they bring something unique to the table, especially at the price point they are. Like, a base of this V8 Charger here is $35,000. For $35,000, that's about what a Nissan Maxima costs with just a V6. Yes, it's a very quick car, very engaging car to drive, and you know, it's a very comfortable car, but it's not a V8 rear-wheel drive classic formula. This car is so like mean and aggressive, it appeals to everybody who likes these type of cars. So I actually think that, you know, with this car kind of continuing on, it's gonna live for quite a long time until kind of like, you know, people get tired of rear-wheel drive cars, which I don't see that happening anytime soon. So from what I heard too, the next generation of the Charger and Challenger are gonna go on smaller Chrysler platforms. So like I heard it's either gonna be the Ghibli or the Julia's platforms. I'm not really sure. I'll put a lower thirds in down here and just to verify all that stuff. But I'm definitely excited to kind of see what this next generation of the Charger Challenger 300 will look like and drive like, because this car has been out since this kind of like platform has been out since 2011, I believe, when this car originally got redesigned for the second generation. And honestly, it doesn't feel like it's getting old or anything like that. It's just been around for a long time now. So like, I am excited to see what the next one's gonna be. But as for this one, it's still a great car. It's something you still should be taking a look at. All right, since it's not the first Charger I reviewed, I'm gonna just talk about some quick features that I like and I don't like about the interior of the Charger. First of all, this car has the Houndstooth upgraded sport bucket seats, and those are the best seats that I've ever sat in the Charger. I don't even really like the leather seats that much, but these Houndstooth sport seats are pretty awesome. Secondly, I just love the way that the cabin feels. Like, I'm saying it from the outside, but I just love the way the cabin feels. And it's just like a nice, it's a nice place to be. There's a couple hard plastics, but besides that, everything in the interior is pretty nice. So, with that said, let's go ahead and go straight out and take it for a drive and see how this thing drives. Talk about some driving characteristics of this thing. First thing to do when you hop on the road in the RT, drop the window a little bit and do a quick little pull. Ooh. That's so intoxicating. That 5.7 liter V8. It is so loud for like a factory exhaust. It's crazy. Like, I bet this vehicle probably would. It might break California's kind of new speed, California's exhaust law that they got going. But it's so loud. I absolutely love it. And glad I live in Oregon and not California, because that definitely would warrant some pullovers. So, welcome to the 2019 Dodge Charger RT. And how does this thing drive? So, you know what? I've driven lots of RTs. I've driven lots of RT Chargers, but this is my first time driving one of the Super Track Pack models. So the Super Track Pack model has like the front and rear bumpers of an SRT model, but also it has a little bit different suspension setup. Like they call it sportier suspension, whatever that means. And honestly, from driving a bunch of regular RTs like I have, this definitely feels a lot different than a regular RT in the corners. Like, one thing that I was really drastically surprised about when I drove this thing hard is the Charger actually handles really nice. I mean, it's a big car, of course, but the Charger handles really nice, and the Super Track Pack just expands a little bit further on that great handling. And like, you definitely, when you drive a regular RT than a Super Track Pack RT, you definitely can kind of feel the difference, because the Super Track Pack one is not as compliant and soft over the bumps. It kind of feels a little bit stiffer. It's not uncomfortable, but it does feel a little bit stiffer, which I kind of like, because the other RT is very comfortable, and that one, you know, rides really nice too. But this one rides nice, but it's a lot more firm, which I can appreciate, because that kind of shows that this car kind of can handle decently well, and when you're cornering or doing in like fun driving experiences. So like, The active exhaust sounds really nice in the car. Like here I am, you know, driving 50 miles an hour, just like doing normal driving, and you know, like it's not very loud in the car. Like I don't have to raise my voice to talk to any passengers in the car, but I wish that this car had some control on the exhaust. So the active exhaust in the Dodge products, especially like just in the 5.7 liter V8 Hemi, Charger, and Challenger, the exhaust is controlled through the throttle. So depending on how much throttle you're given, that's how far the exhaust is open. So when you're going along at 50 miles an hour with light throttle, you're not going to get much noise. But then when you're hard on the throttle, the valves are going to open up, and then you're going to get a sound like almost a loud aftermarket exhaust. So here I am going here, quarter throttle. You guys don't, if you don't hear that much, I roll the window down a little bit, and then I'm going to drop down a couple gears, and then I'm gonna floor it now, so you get more noise, which I kind of like, but I wish I could turn on and off from the infotainment, the Uconnect system here. The one thing about it too, like I think that I wish there was also like a quiet start mode, because those of you know if have driven these RTs, they have some quite large, loud cold starts. So I parked this thing on the street in front of my apartment the other day, and you know, when I was getting ready to leave in the morning, I hit the remote start to start it up, and the cold start was so loud, it was like rumbling some stuff in my apartment, which is quite loud. So I wish that you could like click it like 3 times or something to get like a quieter start mode. But I'm not complaining about the exhaust, because the exhaust sounds amazing. I love the sound of the exhaust, but it could be a little too loud. One thing I like too is the car will sense that you're not giving it much throttle, so it will go down to 4-cylinder mode. And I really like the 4-cylinder mode just because in the 4-cylinder mode you get almost 30 miles to the gallon on the highway, and I just wish it would do it a little bit more in the city. But it's understandable why it wouldn't, just because there's a lot of stop and go. But like when you're going over a certain speed, I think it should kind of like automatically say, all right, go down to 4 cylinders if you're not trying to go fast, or like give this thing like an eco mode or something like that. And you know, like it's one thing you can't complain about fuel economy on a V8 rear-wheel drive like sedan like this, but it's also nice to have some more control over that. So the Charger's interior is it's very spacious, lots of room in here. It's pretty quiet. It's pretty quiet when you're driving on the road here, on the roads. Like it's a great car. Like I enjoy these things every single time I drive one, and I always think is like, why don't I own one of these? But it's just like, because they're just such cool cars. I love it. So like one of the things that makes this car so appealing versus like any other sedan kind of in this class, the simple fact, like I talked about before, that this is a rear-wheel drive V8 model of it's a rear-wheel drive V8 car, and it's one of the only cars. It's the only car left in this price point, in this price bracket, that you can get in such specification. Most other cars like this are, you know, front-wheel drive, 4-cylinder, or V6. Like V6s are kind of on their way out, so most of them are front-wheel drive and 4 cylinders, and they're turbo 4 cylinders, and you know, that's pretty cool for comfort and everything like that. But like, this is the only car that still comes in this type of configuration, and for that it will be unique. And as long as Dodge doesn't make any mistakes with trying to like, as long as Dodge doesn't make any mistake and try to like make it a front-wheel drive something, I think that this car will continue to be as popular as it is now. So like, there's literally like nothing to dislike about this car. Like for me, only thing about the specification, only thing I want is a sunroof. But you know, because you know, it's getting dark. It's getting a little bit dark right now, and I know some of you guys are kind of starting to. I can feel myself getting darker in the camera here as I'm looking. But there's nothing to dislike about this car. This is an excellent car, and like, you know, this is an excellent car. And like, if you're in the market for a car like this, Charger is definitely the way to go. Whether you're getting the V6 or in any of the couple V8 options, because there's the 5.7, the 6.4, and the supercharged 6.2. You know, the 3.6 liter, you can either get it in 292 horsepower or 300 horsepower format. You can get the V6 also in all-wheel drive. The V8, the 5.7 is 370 horsepower. The 6.4 liters, 485 horsepower. The 6.2, of course, is the Hellcat, the 707. And I think there is like a red-eye kind of tune coming for the Chargers also, the 297 horsepower model. So, you know, any of those are great options for the Charger. So like if you want a Charger or if you want a rear-wheel drive, like fun to drive sedan that's still like really practical, you know, still really like livable as a daily driver, the Charger RT is definitely the one. And honestly, I'm going to be looking to replace my Golf GTI pretty soon, and I can officially say this is on the list of cars that I'm looking at. So, if you like this video, hit me with the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, keep riding with me. Thanks for watching.